All right, here we are in our session called Capsim R&D. We're going to do our research and development part here. And I just wanted to tell everybody out there that this kind of tutorial, if you want to call it that, is just so you get the idea of how you can make educated inputs into the simulation. I'm not trying to give you any ideas on strategy because that's the whole point of the simulation is to get you thinking about what kind of strategy you want to use to try to beat out your competitors and get that best grade that you can get. So the inputs I have on the screen are not the exact inputs that I'm going to use. I'm not giving you any kind of answers, and I'm not trying to tell you what strategy you should use. But I do want to teach you how to put your inputs in there in an educated way, because I know for me personally, it took me up until round 3 to figure out that I was making some mistakes just in the simulation itself. And that kind of hurt my ability to learn and to figure out what kind of strategy would be best against my competitors. So I want you to start off on the right foot. And the first thing I want to tell you is the only things that you're going to be inputting is whatever's in the green blocks. So that should take some stress out of the equation. All the tan stuff, all the charts, those are populated for you. So the only thing you're going to manipulate is the stuff in the green blocks. Um, so let's get started with it. The R&D or research and development is where you're going to change and manipulate the physical electronic sensor itself. And the main document that we're going to use to do this is obviously the Capstone Courier can be a big help, but we're going to use this industry conditions report. So if you go down to reports and you choose industry conditions report, there's a lot of useful information here that you can read and learn about. Now here you have something that you may have seen for the first time. It's the first time I've seen it. It's called a perceptual map. Okay, let me scroll to that perceptual map and show you. These are each of the market segments: low performance, traditional, size, and high end. Each of these market segments is going to expect for your sensors to get better in performance, so go up in number and performance, and lower in size, go down in size throughout each round of the simulation. So all of the circles there are going to be drifting down and to the right. And down here in this next chart, these are the drift rates. This is exactly how much each market segment expects to drift. They expect your product to get, you know, 0.7 better in performance and minus 0.7 in size. So this might lead you to believe that each product wants to be dead center in the middle of their own circle. But the fact is, well, first let's cover, you got your fine cut is going to be inside of that solid line. That's called a fine cut. And if you're still inside of that dotted line, that's a rough cut. You really want to keep your products new and fresh enough that they're inside of that fine cut. And the ideal spot, for example, for the low end is not where it says low end, but where that asterisk is right there. So each product has a desired place in their circle that they want to be, not just in the circle, but in that specific asterisk. Now if you scroll down even further, this chart is really great. If you're in round 1 like I am here, this gives you all the inputs of what to put in if you want to be right dead center in the center of the circle. All of that stuff under round 1 there. For the traditional segment all the way on down to the size segment. So you got exactly what you need to put in there. Now as I said before, not all the products want to be dead center in the middle of the circle. Some of them, all of them but the traditional, want to be a little offset from the center. And down here is where you can add or subtract to get the ideal spot for that product. So I'm going to show you just what you need to do to meet the customer specifications to a T. For example, the traditional product here is a 6.6 performance, 14.6 size, and so if you scroll down to the ideal spots, you'll see you don't have to add or subtract anything. That's just right where they need to be. So I've kind of already put that in the Capsim right there. Now let's go ahead and skip over cedar now, the low end for the time being, and let's look at SID, which is the high end. SID, you got 9.3 in performance. So if you go down, you'll notice that he wants to have 1.4 added to that 9.3. So if you bust out your calculator like I did, you'll get a 10.7. So that's what I put for SID there in the performance. And we just did the same thing for size. So if you go over to SID, round 1 there, 11.9, and you have to kind of go back down, and he wants to subtract that 1.4, so that's just what I did, and we got 10.5 for him there. So, I mean, that's exactly how you do it. I mean, you just go to the chart, whatever round you're in, whatever market segment it is, and then you look at their ideal spot and either add or subtract to get their ideal spot. Now, if you look over at the perceptual map, like I said before, all the products are going to kind of be drifting down and to the right. And as I also said, these aren't all my choices that I'm actually going to put into the simulation. I kind of put it like this to show you, look at, for example, this circle down here that I have, both coat and SID in there. And you'll know if you did something wrong if you look over this perceptual map and you got kind of two products in one that you didn't intend to be both of the products there. I got Cure that's kind of drifting out of the circle down here at the bottom, and so I can tell that I have some work to do. So, you know, if it's not kind of looking like cake is here, cake's looking real good because, you know, those black letters represent where he is, and that pink or purplish magenta color is where he's going to be when he reaches that revision, and it's a little bit down, a little bit to the right. So that's how I know I did a good job with cake. Let me explain some of this other stuff here. The revision date, so if I put in what I want to revise him to, this is the date and the year that he's actually going to be revised. So he's going to be revised on March of that year, which is good because the newer product is going to be out within 3 months of the year's beginning. So that's great. Another thing to take a close look at, and this is where we're going to get into using the Capsim, is the age at revision. So by the time March rolls around and the new product comes out, this cake product is going to be 1.7 years old. That's how old he's going to be as perceived by the customer, which is all that really matters. Now if we go to our Capsim and we go down to the traditional market segment, we can see that age is very important to the traditional customer. In their buying criteria, they've said it's of 47% importance to them. So if it's important to them, it should be important to us too. So keep in mind that regardless of what performance and size you're putting in, let's go right back to that, performance and size is only of 21% importance to this customer. Actually, what's even more important to this customer is that you reach an ideal age of 2 years. So you might want to play with the performance and size and see if you can hit that sweet spot of getting that age of revision at 2 years. Now keep in mind, if he's 1.7 years of age in March, then by the time the end of the year comes around, that's going to be he's going to be about 9 months older by the end of the year. So keep that in mind. And that's what this chart is kind of all about down here. Is it shows the product at the beginning of the year, and then it shows him at the end of year. It shows the product at the end of the year. Okay, another thing that we want to look at here is down here we've made some pretty bold revisions, and these aren't going to be revised until June, October, and May of 2015. In my opinion, this is not okay because you will not be able to do anything with this product in terms of manipulating the performance and size until 2016. So it kind of ties your hands for the next round of the next year. So if your competitors are really in there keeping their products fresh and up to date, and you can't even do anything with yours, it's going to be a little bit of trouble for you. Another thing is you want to try to keep this R&D cost below the $1 million range, so below what it shows is $1,000. So that's that. Now let's look at the MTBF. This is the mean time before failure. This is how long your product is expected to work and will work before the customer expects, hey, this thing is supposed to be failing by this time. So if you go to your buying criteria on whatever segment that you're working with, you can tell that, for example, the traditional customer buying criteria, mean time before failure is only 9% importance. So if it's not important to them, it's not important to me either. So I'm not going to change it from what it was last year. I'm just going to leave it just how it is. Now, if we look at a different product, if we look down, for example, at the performance segment, this segment is all about performance. They want the product that works the best. And so their mean time before failure is going to be pretty high. So you're going to have to sink some dollars into this. It's a 43% importance. So in the performance category, we're going to try to keep it up there. We're going to stay cost-wise, and we're going to keep an eye on our cost and how much it's costing us. But we're going to give that our utmost attention because it's very important to the customer. Now again, when you're in here making these choices, you got to realize anytime you're making a product of better performance, of smaller size, one that lasts longer, it's going to cost you money. In fact, anytime that you change anything in here, especially the mean time before failure, if you change it to go up or down, it's going to cost you money because you're actually manipulating the actual product. So it is going to cost you some money. Now, the way that you can kind of play with it and figure out what you want to do is if you go to income statement here under the pro formas, and down at the bottom, cake, this shows your net margin of what you're projected to make off of this product. So you're at 6521. So I'm going to write that down on my notepad here. And if I go back to R&D, I can actually play with any bit of this. Let's just change 17.5 to 14.5. Go back into the pro forma income statement, and look, that just raised me up to 7196. So that raised me up about $500,000 just by lowering the mean time before failure on that product. There's a lot of things to keep in mind when you're going through this, but those are just a couple tools that you can use to work through your research and development. Keeping your products fresh, keeping them new so that the customer has something that he or she wants to buy and wants to use, but doing it in a manner that is in keeping with whatever strategy that you choose for the simulation. So good luck on your research and development, and if you have any further questions or anything like that, hit me up in the comments. Thank you all.